Well, there was
opposition and support. Sorry.
Through the chair, there was very little opposition. So I think, from memory, with the waterfront plan, this was achieved around 74% support. I think the only themes of opposition were around cost.
Thank you. Speaking briefly to this, Mr. Chair, look, my colleague from the North Shore has had a crack at this 3 times. This will probably be the 4th. I am aware of Councillor Wood's submission on the Sky Path, where he argues the lack of connectivity north and south. This does assist the connectivity to Sky Path. A reporting planner's recommendation is that that consent be granted, subject to the hearings. I'm also a submitter, the opposite way to Councillor Wood. But I think, there's potential conflicts there. I would just really want to make the point, again, members, we received feedback from our community. If they fed back on 2 issues, they fed back on deliver us public transport, and they also said deliver us cycling. That was where the accolades came from most recently. And we've just heard from Mr. Dalzell, in recent years, they've said the same thing about all the walk cycleway connections all around the waterfront. You've only got to witness that waterfront, particularly in our summer months just gone, and any sunny day, any time of the year. The whole of Auckland just finds that place. It's the whole of Auckland. This doesn't belong to the people of the city centre. And it has absolutely opened up that waterfront. And that's why people are thirsting for these new apartment developments down there that were just recently launched, and they're clambering over each other to go and live there. It's a staged approach. Remember, it's a staged approach. You go and pull out a stage now, you undermine the stages that have already been built. And this is not just 200 or 300 metres. This is a long, beautiful connection. This is serving people, the constituency of the North Shore, once the Sky Path's there. It's serving the people of the city centre, of course, the Western Bays travelling into the city centre, the eastern side travelling the other way. This is about people starting to explore the parts of Auckland that are right under our noses, but we don't have access to. It's about erosion, it's about seawall control, it's about security, it's about a raft of things. It's not just about cycling, and I don't want to dwell on that particular part. But members, we've committed to these plans of Waterfront Auckland, we've interrogated them, we've worn their budget down. We have. We've done it a number of times. We've been pretty harsh on some of these CCO budgets. Let's keep to plan. We know what the plan is. Don't take out the middle stage of this connectivity. I think we just put in, committed to Voss Shipyard, right smack bang in the middle of this. So how are we going to get people to discover the Voss Shipyard?
Okay. All right. We've got, I think someone else is waving at me over here. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to support Councillor Wood and Councillor Quacks on this amendment. And while we've heard repeatedly over the last few days that the majority of people through the LTP process have called for more transport, more public transport, I want to refer to the small majority, 80%, who have called for their rates not increasing by more than 3.5%. Apparently that majority is not important as the other majority, but I want to support the 80% today. And one way through this, Mr. Mayor, and I'll foreshadow it if this doesn't go through, is that we defer this expenditure for another financial year. So we kick it into the next LTP round of 18-19 and 19-20, because as it stands, it kicks off within this LTP round, and if this doesn't go through the removal of it, then perhaps we keep it on the table, or we just push it out 1 year and look at it for the first 2 years of the next LTP. I suppose, as Councillor Watson has alluded to, there is a really strong and growing perception around this council being CBD centric, and it may suit wards like mine, but it certainly is not suiting wards that are outside that traditional Auckland city area. And let's not forget that when we look at our LTP, Mr Mayor, and again, not wanting to put anything upon the good work that Waterfront Auckland have done, led by John, over the last 3 or 4 years, but nonetheless, there's been huge money spent. There's been great results achieved as well. But we look at this 10-year budget, and we've got the gross budget of Waterfront Auckland is 231 million capex with 526 million opex. And I have been leading the charge, and apparently I'm mean-spirited and don't have a vision. Perhaps the work in and around the tank farm and the waterfront, which are under the auspices of Waterfront Auckland, perhaps we just need to take the foot off the pedal and let some of our commercial tenancies catch up. Let's get the rates, let's get the leases, let's let the private sector now move on, because a lot of work has already been done. And this is $16 million that is going to be further injected. On top of, when you look at this capital projects list on page 85, on top of West Haven Marina Village, 18 million, and in fact for the 15-16 year in and around the waterfront marina commercial public amenity, 43 million. And so there's huge money being spent there. I hear the success of stage 1 of this connection, but I also hear from the eastern suburbs, Mr Mayor, who tell me that they signed up with you in good faith 3 or 4 years ago now, Tamaki Drive Master Plan, to promote grade separation, because I don't know what the accident rate is like getting around the walkways between West Haven and the Harbour Bridge at the moment, but I can tell you the accident rate and the incident rate, and unfortunately even the death rate on Tamaki Drive. And I pitched for 2.61 million to start that grade separation, that potential boardwalk project for 17-18, and that has been thankfully at least diverted to finance and performance. So I pitched for 2.6 million and was unsuccessful to kick off that 4-year project that hasn't had any capital injection, yet here we've got another, the waterfront part of Auckland, in and around the Harbour Bridge, West Haven, the tank farm, again getting another big capital injection. So, Mr Mayor, I can see the merit in it, but I can't see the priority in it. And I ask that that my amendment be tabled after Councillor Wood's, that if his fails, I ask that the committee look at least deferring this expenditure, keeping it on the table, but moving it out 1 year so it can fall into the next LTP period, and we can debate it in 3 years' time as to whether it should be in that immediate 2 years. Otherwise, it will fall in the next 3 years, and I don't think it's a priority. I think we can look at it next LTP as a priority then.
Maybe we should put it into the...
Councillor Cullen, rather.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I'm just wondering, Your Worship, what would be the reputational and cost ramifications to this if this was to go forward?
Reputational and...
Through the chair, I guess what councillors are wrestling with here is that with a high custodial type location like Wynyard Quarter, for an area which is very dear to all Aucklanders' hearts, it's a long-term project. It's 25 years to convert this space, and confidence with our private sector partners is a fragile thing. We've already seen and we've heard your call to dial back expenditure, and I'd remind councillors that we've already taken $100 million out of the Public Works budget to get it back to the current level of $70 million, including this proposal. So to do that, we've had to traverse a very fine line between keeping faith with the vision of the area and what has been committed to in terms of a process with our private sector partners, It's very hard to give you a hard and fast answer, Councillor Penrose, to your question, but I think you can get a sense that because of the long-term nature of the type of work we're doing down there, it is an important component in keeping the vision alive and in front of the community and the investors who are leveraging off the council's very significant commitment to the area.
Councillors, this is that classic situation. I think what Councillor Chris is indicating is probably useful. You know, often I've encouraged you to just keep your eye on the ball and keep the plan and the agreement that we've got running around the table well focused on and delivered. And a lot of the discussion over the last couple of days in particular has been about just holding very true and closely to what it is that we're trying to achieve, the important things. And that transport debate was pretty important to really holding true to the fact that we have something of a destiny in this chamber, and certainly in the early years of the bringing together of Auckland, to actually deal with that great issue of transport. But I just want to remind you now, 6 of you weren't here in the first, but I'm sure if you had been here, you would agree this. When in our first meeting we said that we needed to make the CBD our #1 transformational shift. And why was that? We had a waterfront we couldn't get at. We had a town centre that no one was shopping at anymore. And basically we didn't have a heart of the city. Someone or other had a name, they called themselves the heart of the city, but we weren't. Pathetic retail.
Oh, come on.
And anyone coming into the city, if they were going to come in, we're going to come in by car. You know. So what I sense in this discussion at this late point is that there are a number of people looking hungrily at this particular budget, thinking, "Oh, I could use that." Oh, you know, I mean, it's so easy, really. I mean, it's just a bloody walk around the waterfront. You know,
Massive
so
community centre.
that's it.
The Meadowbank Community Stadium.
You know,
We could put the stadium.
we've got the foreshore at Orewa. God, you know, we've got to get that fixed.
Well, you do.
So this looks like an easy target, but John's last comments were telling. We put the organisation under the thumb screws, and remember we took $3 billion out of the capital program. And for Waterfront, that $170 million capital program is now 70. And so you can't say they haven't given it up. And they really got it back, and there are members of the media here who, when they talk about some of the very, very positive changes of the city, it's always great to read that.
When? When do they do that? They just say we spend too much money
No,
all
this is
the
not
time.
an opportunity to get excited. but when those matters are reflected on, it has to be said that they do reflect on the transformation of our waterfront. And I think that's what the community is loving, and is some of the reason behind some of the more animated discussions recently. And the waterfront have done an outstanding job. And also to remember, the work that we are doing down there, a lot of it's been driven by the private sector. And the question that Callum asked was a very astute question, because that private sector is looking for us to hold the line and to abide by the reasonable direction and commitment to the plan, which is our #1 focus in a transformational shift. So the waterfront, I think, have done what we asked them to do. Carve your budget. Come back to us with what you think is really essential to hold the line and keep a pretty firm focus on the vision and enable us to attract those great international like Fuwas and some of the localies like the Bonds and what are they called again? Willis Bonds, great team from Wellington. So, and they are doing a great job, and we are getting billions of dollars worth of investment off the back of that. And maybe part of that could in the end be that those private sector investors will take some of the pain away and build some of that stuff like they're doing with the CRL under the precinct. So look, I know it looks hugely enticing and tempting. Councillors, we're going to do our very best to deal with some of the requests at the back end of this discussion. And that is something that I can hold out to you. But let's not take the opportunity of cutting off our nose to spite our face. So I completely understand where Councillor George is coming from, but I think the Waterfront have taken, you know, we've asked for a pound of flesh and they gave us £2. Perhaps time to leave them with it.